This is it not? Correct me if I'm wrong. Comedy Slab edition 112.
Hang on, I'll have to get me thing.
Put your bins on. It started already, ladies and gentlemen. Started to mean to go on. Anyway, I'm Adrian in the southeast of England. He is in the Midlands, where such things are everyday occurrences, such double entendres. And he's swigging the purple. I think it is 112.
It is, you're right. I just looked it up. Yeah.
Oh, right. Thanks for confirming.
Only last week it was 111.
Yes.
Nothing gets past you, does it, Sherlock? Eh?
They don't call me the detective for anything. Anyway, we are not slabbing the detective, but something called Detectorists. Series 3, Episode 1 in this edition of the Comedy Slab. And if you're new to the show, special welcome to you. The notional Comedy Slab is a slab of marble, if you will. And we are the comedy slobs who put the comedy on said marble to prod it about a bit, dissect it and see if it salutes, or if we want to salute it, see what we make of it, and then give it marks out of 5 each at the end of the show. That should all be self-explanatory. Well, it will get clearer as we go along, hopefully. And you'll find this as we speak. It's on BBC iPlayer, certainly in the UK, available for the next 3 months. So the Detectorists, Series 3, Episode 1. But before we get to that, in some shock news just in, Shane, you've got a shock stat for us, haven't you, about BBC 3?
Yeah, this I don't know where I saw it. I think it was on social media, was it, the other day, saying that BBC, we talked about this before, didn't we, about BBC 3 moving from linear TV.
Your favourite term, I can tell.
Because it's TV, isn't it? It's like linear TV.
Rectangular.
Moving from flat screen TV. I just think it's so funny. They have to make the distinction. It's linear TV. Moving from linear TV, if it says here, to the internet. Because I told you that story, didn't I, about my late father, who always used to say to me about, he said, I watched BBC 3 the other day. There's absolutely nothing on it. I said, it's because it's aimed at 14-year-olds, Dad. That's why. He was 86 at the time. But they did this move, and I remember us talking about it at the time, thinking, how's that going to go? How's that going to pan out? But the news in this week, they have lost up to 70% of their audience with the move to online. Which is pretty, even though we knew it wasn't going to be good for them, I think everybody knew apart from the people that were ordering it to be done. Or maybe they did as well, who knows. But it's still that's quite a shocking stat, don't you think?
I think it is, yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's obviously different ways of measuring things, and arguably since the move there are different types of shows. There are more I was going to say soundbite, video bite type shows. I would have thought. I'm not saying that's the full story, but you can measure by how many people are watching at least 5 minutes, and it is something like that for ratings to register very often, and you can measure it by share, how many people. I don't mean Sonny and share. It's the amount of people, the proportion of people who are watching a given channel at a given time, or that's analysing so-called linear TV. But here there's a mention, I'm just looking at the article that we've both been looking at on this. Viewing minutes dropped by 89% per year. So that's if you stack up all the minutes people are watching, and that is a serious stat.
This is really weird, because it was something I was thinking about the other day, about podcasts. And it was, I've just recently bought the Alan Partridge. I think we talked about this last week, didn't we? I just bought the Alan Partridge podcast from my subscription on Audible. And I was just putting it onto my phone to play in the car, because I'll either, the two places I listen to audiobooks or any kind of audio or anything like that are either A, when I'm washing up, which seems to be a lot of the time.
Once a year. Oh, right.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, it does seem to be quite a lot. I say I get through so many books. And the other time is when I'm out in the car driving, when I haven't got my son, because he just like talks constantly. I don't know where he gets that from, but so I can't, we tend to have music on so he can talk as well. So if I'm in the car on my own, I also listen to it. And I was going through this rigmarole of like so I downloaded it and then I put it into iTunes, and then from iTunes and I plugged my phone into my computer, and then I got and all the rest of it. And I know there are easier ways to have your Audible book or any other book, or, whatever it is. But I just thought the delivery method is everything, isn't it? With all of this, is that a radio is in the car, is so convenient. You just press a button and you can get probably, if you've got a favourite station, you can get your favourite station. And TV similarly. I mean, that just goes to prove that point, that the delivery box is everything, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, basically, I'm glad it's just not just me that actually just wants the easiest life possible. So basically, you put the minimum number of hurdles in people's way. Speak to anyone in business. That's true of anything, anywhere, isn't it? If you make it easier to pay, then it doesn't hurt so much, even though it's costing the same amount however you arrange payment. But if you just make it a little bit smoother, can we store your details online, things like that, the fewer hurdles, the easier it is to go to it, because life's tough enough around the edges, isn't it? Without making entertainment tougher.
Which is what, and then I thought, well, actually, that's probably why this podcast isn't as successful. It's not because it's rubbish or we're rubbish. It's because of the delivery method.
Although that may be a factor, to be fair.
Well, I didn't want to think it that far through, but all I can say is that having come to that conclusion, I slept a bit better that night than I did in any of the others. So,
right, well, that's all that matters, really, isn't it?
So
it's not the truth that matters; it's sleeping better.
Back to BBC Three, and we think we know the answer to this because I think you've read somewhere that BBC Three that there are plans to try and bring it back onto air, onto TV. But what would you, if you were the Director General? What would you do now? Would you go, let's cut our losses and reinvent our youth output, or would you try and bring it back? Because you can't even say it's an established brand, can you? You could say like BBC Three, because you think, well, you've alienated 90% of your audience. So,
and given that they're on the young side, the younger element you're trying to attract won't remember it being a TV channel, even.
No.
Arguably.
16 to 34 is their demographic apparently.
Yeah.
But what do you do? What do you do? Do you throw the baby out with the bathwater and go, right, start again? Let's do something new, fresh, exciting, invigorating, or do you try and breathe life into the corpse of BBC Three?
Oh, that could be a false dichotomy. You might be trapping me.
It did sound like a loaded question, actually. It did sound like you still beat your wife, didn't it? I'm sorry, I do apologise. Yeah. It's the journalist in me, I'm sorry.
Yes, you're right. You're trying to get your headline, aren't you? I know your game. Gosh. There's a certain amount of humble pie to be eaten if you put it back on a channel. Although, of course, a new Director General, such as we have, Tim Davie, just taken over, you can afford to say, well, you can be allowed cut some slack at the beginning of your service, can't you? And do things that at other times might look slightly dubious.
Yeah, but I mean, the politics aside, is it worth? I mean, have they killed BBC Three? I suppose is the question. Is it?
No, I don't think so at all. I mean, Fleabag was on there. Is on there. There's loads of stuff. Killing Eve as well, from a similar stable. I might be inclined to have a dish of humble pie, and say it was an interesting experiment. Say lots of diplomatic things about people who went before who made that decision. But also, I would want to make it because it is that younger generation that are going to be ahead of the curve in terms of early adopters of all technology. And I mean, surely your favourite term, linear TV, it's over time, incrementally, it's going to get less and less popular.
Can't see it. I can't see it, only because of the box in the corner. Because of the delivery.
Think maybe our mistake was in thinking it was either or, and it's both and. It's the box in the corner. It's the phone in your pocket. Or are you pleased to see me?
Or are you pleased to see me? Indeed, yeah. Interesting times ahead. Anyway, sorry, I digress.
No. That was all part of the cut and thrust of the Comedy Slab's interests in comedy-related things. Because a lot of comedy on BBC Three. It's part of their trinity of their offering.
So the Detectorists, do you want to whack a clip out and we can headline it?
Yes. Well, I'm going to enlist your help with this because you've seen episodes plural, no doubt, from Series 1 and Series 2.
Yeah,
right?
Well, you know me. I wouldn't
You're
just
completist.
I wouldn't just watch, Series 1, Episode 3, and then skip to Series 2, Episode 2. I'm not.
Why ever not?
I'm not some kind of madman like you,
It's time-saving. Okay, but you're better placed than me in a sense to do the generic setup. But correct me if I'm wrong, but we've got Mackenzie Crook, who's also the writer as well as starring in this. He plays Andy, and Lance is played by Toby Jones, who... Basically, he has to be in any drama to get a commission at the BBC. I'm convinced. Yeah. He's not doing so badly. So they're both detectorists, which I'm sure people know. It's where you go around with a metal detector. They're hobbyists. Some people probably manage to make a living out of it, or certainly, if you have a good find, you might be able to retire early. So in this first of two clips we have in this show, as indeed we have in every Comedy Slab, Lance is basically showing off the way he can read the landscape. Oh, and Andy's just picked up some metalwork. I think it was a scaffold
clamp,
tightener.
Wasn't it?
Clamp, thank you.
Yeah, clamp, yeah.
So here we go.
Knock it, mate. That's a piece of history right there. Small scrap of a life long forgotten.
Yeah, it's easy for you to say. You've got a piece in the British Museum.
I told you about that.
Where do you go from there? What do you aspire to?
Is there a Nobel Prize for metal detecting?
There should be.
We're so lucky living here. When you think about how small this island is. We're walking on archaeology. There's nowhere we could tread that hasn't been trodden 1,000 times before by the Celts, the Druids, the Romans.
Where you go?
Scaffold clamp. Saxons, the Vikings. When I look at this landscape, I can read it. That's the likely site of a settlement. That's where the workers gather for their lunch.
That's where someone left some scaffolding.
So, do you want me headline first, or do you want me to talk about that clip, or what do you think?
Oh, it's got to be headline, surely.
Okay. My headline is the Detectorists. What a treasure.
Oof.
It should be buried. No.
No, you should be buried for that remark.
That's the old joking about my wife's such a treasure. She should be buried.
Where'd you dig her up then?
Yeah, that's it. Whatever. What a treasure. I got to say, I watched 2 series, so you don't kind of end up watching 12 episodes without being a bit of a fan. It's a funny one though. Bearing in mind, we talked last week about Staged, and I said, the one thing that I didn't like about Staged was it didn't have enough gags in it. And I reckon if you ran the gag counter on both of these, you'd probably come out with Staged having more gags than this one did, because it has a real slow pace to it, doesn't it? Yeah,
everything's slowed down, action and so on, and that would include gags or as part of that in a funny way, isn't it?
Yeah. How do you get on with it though? Do you feel the same, or?
Well, I turned myself into slow mode, which is not difficult when you move at the sort of pace I do, and so I tried to metaphorically relax the dial so that my expectations were moved at that pace. But I still have, for me, it's this classic problem, and forgive the repetition, but it's in the genre that I've dubbed smile-com. And it's not simply a low gag rate, it's that the gags themselves I mean, it's of a piece, and it feels right, but the gags themselves, they're so gentle as to be. Again, it's mostly smiles. You managed a little laugh people won't have heard during that clip, but I heard it, and that was it really. Even though you're a fan, a self-described fan, there was no more than one laugh in that clip, or laugh out loud, and even that's a sort of gentle kind of thing, isn't it? It's not a guffaw.
No.
So it is a comedy then. What is it? A comedy drama because there's no audience? Have we decided on that, or are we forever redefining it?
Yeah, I don't
Not
know.
a sitcom?
I mean, it has got drama in it, and I was kind of reminded. I thought, it was going to be a spoiler alert a bit later on, but it wasn't. It wasn't really, and it kind of came back because it's been a very long while ago since I watched the first two series, and I couldn't really remember what had happened with characters and what kind of was going on. I think Toby Jones' character's daughter was stopping with him, and I couldn't for the life of me remember who it was until he said, "Oh, my daughter's stopping," and then that kind of clicked into place. So I'm not sure. I'm not sure how well you would do if you kind of just like bowled into it in without having watched any of the other two series. But again, I suppose it's not meant to be taken in that context. But you're right about it's the pace of the thing. And I mean, and it's writ large, isn't it? I mean, even the music that they commissioned for it, the score, is gentle and acoustic and fits into the narrative and everything. But I think for me, and I think the reason why this kind of works is that it has a basis in truth, in as much as you would expect two blokes roaming around a field with two metal detectors to have a gentle ambience to it, wouldn't you anyway? And they're kind of both gentle characters as well. They're not gobby or smart or anything like that. They're kind of, they're trying to figure out their own lives and that kind of thing as things are going on. And for me, the dialogue, and I'm a great lover of this, the dialogue is very real. I think it's really rooted in realism, and that's why it works, I think. I think
the gentle pace, it feels like it draws you in, and involves you somehow.
Yeah.
And again, especially, it's all context, isn't it? If you've had a busy day at the office or at home, working from home, and you've got children climbing up the walls or whatever, this will be the perfect feet up, crack open a beer or whatever your poison is.
You've got to mention the companies that are involved. Lola Entertainment, Treasure Trove Productions, and Channel X North, I think, weren't they? Were the three production companies. Do you want me to tell you what I've dug up?
Oh, very good. Channel X, yes, just before you do, Channel X without the North was Jonathan Ross, but did he sell that years ago?
Yes, he's long. There's 87, believe it or not. Channel X was when he did that. But yeah, that's long gone out of his hands now. Two guys you wouldn't recognise as famous at all. But Channel X North are responsible. They do a lot of comedy, and there's no question about it. They've cropped up in the comedy slab before, haven't they? Lola Entertainment, interestingly enough, is John Bishop, the comedian.
Oh.
And Lisa Thomas, who, interestingly enough, again represents. She has Lisa Thomas Management, who represent Jason Manford, John Bishop, the comedian Danny Boy, Mackenzie Crook.
Oh,
as well.
What happened there?
And Treasure Trove Productions, by the way, is Mackenzie Crook. That's his production.
I think you said
company.
that. Didn't you say that?
No, I said that Lisa Thomas Management. Yeah, represented.
Okay.
It's a great bit of work, though, isn't it? I mean, if you'd have produced 3 series of this, I mean, you would. I think you could quite rightly sit back and rest on your laurels, couldn't you? In terms of what you created, to be the writer and the star of a program, relatively successful, I suppose. But certainly a great bit of work. Nothing to be ashamed of, is it, in that sense?
No, absolutely not. No, production values are very high. I certainly, I mentioned it last week when I was setting the homework that I had seen one episode before. predates the Slab for me as well. So whether I might have approached it differently anyway, but at the time I just didn't get it. But now I think what I wasn't getting is the point, which is that it unfolds slowly and it draws you in. I'd fully understand anyone who was a little bit baffled like I was with that first viewing of something from the first series. It probably was series 1, episode 1. What is the hook here? Why should I carry on watching, and why should I be interested in these people? But yeah, it's slow burn stuff.
Do you think because there's a reality to it, because they're everyday people? Do you think there's a sense of, because I suspect I am probably this kind of person, but do you think there's a sense that it is satisfying to the voyeur? Yeah, that's it. I just like to watch.
Yeah, that sentence works if you stop it there. Well, we are. You're particularly curious in every sense, but we are curious creatures, and quite self-absorbed as a species. That, apart from a few circus performers and zoo workers, mostly we're interested in humans, aren't we?
Yeah.
And perhaps disproportionately.
Because again, there are laws, aren't there, to stop exercising their interest in anything else other than
Well, I don't know which particular route you're going down, but I think I will leave that one untouched myself.
It's all right, officer. Yeah, that's where it should be left untouched. It's all right, officer. We work at the circus together. I don't think that's going to wash.
Yeah, yours is a high wire act. Without a safety net.
Sorry, but do you think is that kind of, it's like watching? It's people watching.
Yeah, and we all do it to a greater or lesser extent. And I think the people who don't do it, they might need to develop a bit more curiosity. Stop it. Am I digging an ever deeper hole?
I thought you were going to say generally have better eyesight.
I think it's high time for the second and final audio clip while you sort yourself out.
I thought you were going to burst into bees do it. What did birds do it? Bees do it. Even educated fleas do it.
Well, I might as well have done.
Oh, dear.
So, in this second and final clip, we find quite a group of people. I won't go into the full cast list here. Just in passing, a bit of poignancy, unexpected poignancy for me, that Diana Rigg, who as we speak the news of her sad death came through in the last 24 hours, and she appears in this episode, not in this particular clip, but any thoughts on Diana Rigg generally or specifically in this show, putting you on the spot?
Oh, generally, I loved her. I mean, I thought, her contribution to film and TV, I mean, not least, and I know it's the go-to one for everybody, the Avengers. But she was fab in it, because it was the kind of, it was a, I don't know if you ever watched the reruns, but they get wackier the more time passes with their original creation. So I thought, she was great in that. I'll be honest with you, it was only when the credits ran at the end, and I had to go back and go, who was Diana Rigg? She just passed me by completely.
Bit of a cameo role as mother-in-law.
Yeah, and great, wasn't she, as well? I mean, she just got that. She just nailed it. I mean, she was a professional, wasn't she? Shame to lose her. I mean, again, 82 was she? I think.
I think so.
People say, it's not. You expect people to live into their 90s now. It's crazy in that sense. But yeah, no, I loved her. I loved her in this. I loved her full stop. Sad loss, I think, all round. Really, wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, absolutely. And I love that nice little factoid they've been trotting out in the obits, that she was the only woman to marry James Bond. That's quite a claim to fame, isn't it?
Yeah. And rightly so as well, because what a looker. But yeah.
Yes, indeed. So, meanwhile, back at the pub with a smattering of our Detectorists, and their respective partners. Or certainly, Lance has got his partner with him, and also the leader of the group has his partner there as well. So drinks have just arrived, and then there's a bit of shock news to digest.
Hang on, has something happened?
Just found out we've lost the farm.
Oh no, you've been there for years, haven't you?
5.
Well, exactly. I mean, you searched the place out. You said yourself you've got to accept change. Time to move on.
No such thing as searched out, Terry. There's always more.
I've always thought there's something good there, something significant. Well, I thought this was the year we were going to find it.
How long are the solar panels going to be there?
It says the lease is 30 years.
And how old are you now?
48.
You'll find a new permission.
I don't know, love. It's getting harder and harder.
Oh, well. Let's all take off our gloomy trousers and talk about something else.
Good idea, love.
Yeah.
Change of subject.
I love Gerard Horan, who plays Terry. He's one of those actors who you know his face. I think he was in London's Burning, wasn't he?
I'm not the person to ask, I'm afraid.
The Jack Rosenthal thing, I'm sure, years ago. I was talking 1980s or something like that. But yeah, fabulous actor. And that kind of goes back to this. We didn't mention it's kind of got would you call that a false start at the start of this episode, where it's all very corporate and you're in this glass.
Yeah. I had to double check I was on the right programme on BBC iPlayer, which I think is what they want you to do. Although it depends how the announcer, for those on linear TV, your favourite phrase, who were around for the announcement, it'd be interesting to see how they set it up.
Can I just say about, since you've left TV announcing, the standard has gone right down the toilet. I heard a TV announcer the other day say, let's go across to Dad's, something to the effect of go across to Dad's army and find out what Captain Mainwaring makes of it.
Oh, no.
And he wasn't the only
painful.
one. There's about 3 or 4 mispronunciations that I've heard recently, and I just thought, you have no idea what you're announcing, do you? And it's just, I think it's really shoddy, I do. But anyway, that's my pet peeve for this week. Yeah, I mean, it's just, I think it's writing and delivery, isn't it? It's that writing and delivery all the time. It's like this, that wonderful. How long are the solar panels going to be there? How old are you now? And they all sit around doing the calculation, thinking
it's not looking. It's what's unsaid, isn't it?
Yeah.
All right. You won't be alive by the time.
Yeah, fabulous stuff. And you mentioned that they're hobbyists, these people, but it's one of those hobbies, and I know maybe there are lots of hobbies like this, but it is certainly one of the hobbies that is taken extremely seriously, isn't it? And they all want the next Staffordshire hoard, don't they? It's that's.
But why wouldn't you? If you, I mean, it's like, if you go into acting, you want the top Hollywood role. You don't go in to be a background extra on something no one ever watches or talks about.
But I mean, it's the same reason people buy lottery tickets, isn't it? I suppose. I don't know. Well, I've got to ask you one thing as a sound man, or as a sound man,
or as an unsound man, as some people would have me. Yes.
There were some outdoor scenes, and I watched this with headphones on, and there were some outdoor scenes that you could hear the flies fart in the background. It was that the sound was that rich, the sound tapestry. He poured a drink out of his flask, and you could hear every drop going in there. And it occurred to me, I thought, I must ask Adrian, does he know, how do they is that Foley or is that actual Atmos?
I should point out, actually, former sound man, although one would like to think that I've still got the skills.
Hey, you know what they say? Once a sound man, always a sound man.
Well, thank you. Do they say that? I've never heard that, but then maybe I wasn't listening very closely, which is me all over,
or
to be
cloth
honest.
ears.
Boom. I don't think if it's done well, as it seems to be here, I don't think you can tell whether it's. We should explain. Foley is sort of added on afterwards by someone reliving the action. The BBC famously used to have Beryl the Boots, who would, if you needed some footsteps if the mic hadn't been close enough because they were trying to get the dialogue at the recording stage, then the Foley artist Beryl the Boots would famously put on her boots.
And it's been used in comedy to great effect as well, hasn't it? And I'm thinking of the films like, I'm sure in Airplane there was a scene where the Foley is like way too overdone. It's like ridiculously large sound effects to go with what was happening on the screen. So that kind of, it's, comedy uses that. I remember seeing the couple interviewed who do all the Foley for The Simpsons.
All right, yeah.
And it's a husband and wife team that do it, and they kind of got their home studio and do it at home practically. Put the sound effects on. Sorry, but that kind of thing. Are we hearing what we're seeing? Do you think, or not? Is that possibility?
I think it's impossible to say. And very often you have to move stuff around. Take one will be better for one thing, and take three will be better for something else. So you might move the sound or the background sound from take one to take three. I couldn't say, but what matters, of course, is the ultimate effect, which you seem to be very pleased with.
Oh, it made the hair stand up on the back of my neck. It was just. I thought the sound architecture was incredible, and and we mentioned the music, and I think when you specially commission a piece of music, it's a guy called Johnny Flynn, isn't it? I think who's a singer and songwriter. I think he's Canadian. I think I'm right in saying. And in actual fact, he's been cast as David Bowie in an upcoming film called Stardust about David Bowie. So you'll be able to see him in that. But yeah, Johnny Flynn wrote the theme music and did all of the incidental stuff as well. And I don't know, that whole the sound and the music. And again, it helps if you listen on headphones, doesn't it? Just thought it was fab.
Yeah, we should, lest he gets jealous, credit the other name mentioned for this episode at least, and possibly for the whole series. Dan Michelson gets the credit for music as well.
Oh right,
just throwing it in.
Sorry, Dan.
I don't know whether it was co-writing in each instance or what the breakdown was between them. But
he obviously he's known as Dan the Music Man. So I do apologise for not mentioning him.
So you should.
Feel bad.
Seriously jeopardise his future career.
Can I just say, talking about realism as well, there's a lovely scene where Toby Jones is having a conversation with his daughter who's in the bathroom, and he opens the cheese to find out that she's cut the corner off. And I really relate to that because I didn't realise how much I am, but I am a real cheese symmetrist. And I live with what's the opposite?
Cheese asymmetrist.
A cheese asymmetrist. And
what you are is OCD, I would suggest, respectfully.
Oh, come on, no, listen to me. Have you, what do you call those cheese things that it's like kind of got a blade
cheese
on
cutters with the cable, with a wire cutter?
No, we're not that posh.
Cheese paring.
Come on, man, we live in Staffordshire. What's the matter with you? Get a grip, come on.
You've got acres of your own land.
Yeah, but have you seen it? It's covered in cow dung. Come on. Think about this, Marjorie. What do you call it? They're like flat. They're with a hole, like a slit in them.
Oh, a cheese knife.
How is that a cheese?
Well, I don't really know what you're describing, but there is such a thing as a knife with a hole in it.
Right, hold on. Let me go and get it from the kitchen. Hang on a second. Hang on. Hold on.
Oh, okay. Have I got to fill? There will now be a short artistic pause where we find out just how far from his studio is the kitchen.
I just asked my wife as I came running through the lounge, and I went, "What's this called?" She went, "A cheese grater." I just said, "How's that a cheese grater?"
Oh, it was a cheese slicer, isn't it?
Yeah, cheese slicer.
Yeah.
She uses this, right? You're not on the edge where you'd expect to use it.
Are you trying to draw me into marriage counselling here? Because I won't be drawn. And I'm the last person who can make a judgment between a married couple.
What kind of what kind of maniac would use it? Like, say that's the cheese there, right?
Right.
Would use it like that across the cheese. You'd do it on the end, wouldn't you?
I don't know that I would. And I don't know that it would upset me the way you clearly invested so much in this.
If it happens again, I'm breaking it in half. That's all I'm saying.
Right. I think it's high time that we called a halt to proceedings before they become illegal and threatening. And mark this out of 5. I've no idea whose turn it is. You're probably going to ask me to go first because you've got that chip on your cheddar shoulder.
Chip on my cheese slicer. I was going to ask you a question as well. Can I ask you a question before we do the scores? Okay. What links this episode of the Comedy Slab to... Well, there are 2 actually you can have here, but what links this episode to last week's episode?
The fact that it's the next one in the series.
Well, there is that. I can't take that away from you.
Cue for a song.
Yeah.
Oh, come on. That's a bit vague and generic. Can you hone down the...
A star of this week's worked very famously with the star of last week's.
I can't even remember what last week's show was. I've done so much in the intervening week. Or is it that I've done absolutely rag all?
It was staged.
Staged, right.
Wasn't it? Should I tell you?
A star of... There's some connection with Michael Sheen or David Tennant.
Well, yes.
Just to narrow it down.
Here he goes again, Hercule.
Mr. IQ. I didn't hear what the clue was, or I didn't register it.
What was the connection? They both worked on a star of this week and a star of last week worked on a very famous film.
Oh. No, you're going to have to help me out.
All
I'll
right.
probably go, I knew that all along.
It was Toby Jones starred alongside Michael Sheen in Frost Nixon. He played the agent, Swifty Lazar.
Swifty Lazar, what a great name.
But there was actually another link because Rachel Sterling played War in Good Omens, which featured both David Tennant and Michael Sheen, as we know, because we slabbed it as well. So there were 2 connections there. So, put that in your pipe and smoke it. Anyway, do you want me to go first with the scores on the doors?
Oh, go on, Miss Ford.
I am, and don't ask me to justify it, but I am going to give it a 4. There is just something that just touches me.
But that is the justification, surely, isn't it?
I guess so.
It doesn't need any more explanation, just as the show, in the style of the show, it just gently poodles along. I'm going to give it 3.5, which is more than I would have done after that first viewing in a pre-slab era, which is a contradiction in terms, because I didn't give any marks to anything in them days. But, no, I think you've helped me see the value of it and the richness of the pace of it, and hopefully some subtext, which I'm sure I would get more of if I watched more episodes.
Would you watch more episodes?
I would if life were infinitely long, and my patience with it and my organisational skills, if they were better. How long a list do you want?
So, essentially, the answer to the question, would you watch another episode? The answer is no, life's too short.
Yes. but that at least it takes the blame away from the show, doesn't it?
But you have a positive way of putting it. Would you watch it?
Yeah.
Yes, if life were longer.
Exactly.
I love it.
You understand me at last.
That
it's
is
taken
so
112 episodes, but you understand me.
I love it.
Anyway,
that's the epitome of glass half full, glass half empty, isn't it? That really, I think.
It kind of is. So,
right.
3.5 out of 5, and you're 4, so 7.5 out of 10. It's not
all
bad,
right, before I shove off and put my cheese slicer back in the kitchen, homework for next week, I have got one for you. Here we go. We're heading off. We're changing channels. Where was this on? Was this on BBC One, by the way? Detectorists or BBC Two?
I don't know, but I've got it off BBC iPlayer, so it becomes immaterial which channel it's on.
It's interesting, isn't it, though? Because in a way it doesn't, because that they have their own identity, the TV channels, but...
Well, you're being all very old-fashioned and linear, darling.
Aren't I? Look at me in a straight line.
Rectilinear.
All my molecules in a straight line. Don't be filthy. Right.
I'm not.
Let's change channel and head to Sky One.
Ooh, get you.
And a Sky One original. I don't know whether you've come across this, but it stars two people who, and I know what you're going to say. You're going to say, well, you always moan about these two and go, how do they keep getting TV shows? What is it about them? Oh, and various other things. But do you know what? Never let it be said, because I this is my rule, my Corden rule, that I've developed over the years, and because I'm not a big fan of James Corden in his own persona. But I don't. We watched The Wrong Mans, didn't we? And I quite enjoyed that. And so therefore, I never let somebody's perceived persona get in the way of me watching something with them in it when they're acting, because they're acting, darling. That's the whole point. So it's a long way around of saying it is a programme from Sky One original, starring Sue Perkins and Mel Gedroych.
Mel and Sue.
It's called, and it's just about to hit, I can't remember if they've just made Series 2 or whether they're just about to show Series 2, but either way, this is Series 1, Episode 1 of a programme called Hitmen. And I can tell you no more than that is the premise of the film, is that Mel and Sue are hitmen.
Interesting gender fluidity from the top.
So that's homework for next week. Do you accept your challenge?
Do I have a choice?
No, you don't.
No, well, I was look forward to that. I come to it, as it sounds like you do, with a clean slate, so nothing could be finer. Right, well, on anti-social media, we are not surprisingly at Comedy Slab on Twitter, and likewise at Comedy Slab is the handle for our Facebook page. If you could like the latter and follow us on the former, that would be terrific. And what else? Personal recommendations of the Comedy Slab to friends and family and whomever is in your social bubble or antisocial bubble, or can be lured into it within the bounds of whatever the law is on any one particular day, if anyone could keep up with that. And lastly, but in no way least, if you could give us a generous star rating on Apple Podcast / iTunes, that'd be fab too. Thank you very much.
Yeah, we're all over the place if you want to get other episodes, and it's always nice when you do. Go back and have a look at the other ones, or have a listen to the other ones. Don't forget, if you want to see sort of a swirly graphic thing going on behind a cartoon picture of us, then YouTube's the place to go for that. Hey,
you're selling it.
No wonder it's so popular. Actually, no, it's Spotify, isn't it? Is our most popular one. But I've got to go and put my cheese slice back now, and I was just thinking, I don't know why we don't have, like, you can buy cheese slices, can't you? You don't have to even slice your own cheese these days. Although, it's really funny because I've always thought people who have grated cheese, like who buy grated cheese, that is the epitome of laziness, isn't it, really? I don't know. I can't get on with... You buy grated cheese, don't you, going to say?
No. I don't like the way you're pointing the cheese slice at me.
Anyway, if you've enjoyed this, by the way, don't forget you can listen to my other podcast, Cheese Life.
Mine's called mine one's greater than his. Dear. I'm going to put on my gloomy trousers once again, if you're going to be like that.